Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Judy.
Glad to see you this morning, and thank you for joining me.
Glad to be here. Thanks for asking.
You bet. I have Kevin Puttister with me from the Dundas Museum, or it's correctly the Dundas Museum and Historical Archives.
Dundas Museum and Archives. Yeah, we've had a
Right.
couple of names over the years. Legally, we're the Dundas Historical Society Museum, but the name change to Dundas Museum and Archives is to focus on the amazing archival collection we have here available.
Excellent.
Mhm.
And I'm Judy Chapala with now the Revalio Inc. brokerage. I just changed brokerages myself, so
Congratulations.
thank you, Kevin. So tell us a little bit about the history of the museum, please.
Absolutely. So the Dundas Museum opened its doors on April 21st, 1956. We're in our 65th year. Here in Dundas. The collection, though, dates all the way back to the 1940s when folks in town, they were the children or the grandchildren of the earliest settlers of the area. And those folks were passing on, and there was a sense in the community that we needed to preserve these stories and the artifacts that go with them. And so a group of concerned citizens got together and built this fantastic facility that I'm at today.
Yeah, and I understand that it's unusual to have sort of a purpose-built museum in such a small town.
Exactly. And opening in 1956, it was actually one of the first purpose-built community museums. There were plenty of other community museums, but they were in old homes or in rooms in other facilities. But Dundas was kind of unique in that when it opened in 1967, the centennial year, there was a museum boom of centennial museums opening, and those were in most cases purpose built. But Dundas beat that out by 11 years.
Yeah, they were really forward thinking, the citizens back then, weren't they, to preserve the history? And it has such a rich history, Dundas, doesn't it? We know that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I say we opened in 1956, but the original storage room ran out of space almost immediately. It was only 400 square feet, and an addition was put on the building in 1963. So only 7 years later, we expanded. It's about 1,500 square feet on each floor. So our new collection storage vault below and our feature exhibition space up above.
And then you expanded again in what, early or mid 2010, like 2000?
Yeah, it was 2012 that we closed to the public, and we reopened in the fall of 2013 for our major renovation expansion, joining the original museum building to the building I'm sitting in today, which is the Peary House, which is where the Rotary Club, among many other groups, hold their meetings here. It's a fantastic space for our education programs primarily.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful space. And we love it there, the Rotary Club. So
Good.
how long have you been the curator there, Kevin?
Well, I actually took over as curator and general manager during that renovation project in 2013. So June 2013, I assumed this role, which makes it quite some time now. But I've been with the museum since 2010, so I'll be coming up on my 12th year here
Yeah, yeah,
this
excellent.
January.
Good stuff. And what's your background?
I did an undergrad. I was always interested in history. It was one of the few subjects in high school that held my attention. And I did an undergrad at the University of Guelph in history. And then after that, wasn't quite sure what to get into, but thankfully for a suggestion from one of my professors, I started volunteering at the Guelph Civic Museum and then at Dune Heritage Crossroads, which is now the Waterloo Region Museum. And then I went back to school to Fleming College for museum management and curatorship. And I'm very grateful to that program for giving me some really practical hands-on experience that still helps me today.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. You're doing the work that you love to do, hey?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because
Yeah.
my question was, what do you love most about it? But I can imagine pretty well, well, I shouldn't say most things, but what do you love most about it?
Well, I mean, I love the people. Um, I'm not an extrovert in the definition sense, but I do like meeting with folks one on one, talking about their stories. I love the staff here. We have a fantastic team. But I think the thing that got me most interested in this type of career are the artifacts and the stories that they can tell us, and how we can use them to tell stories of the community or the people of this place. So I think that's kind of right up there what I love the most.
And people can bring in questions to your staff, can't they? If they want something researched, like a particular building or an address,
Mhm.
Dundas, and they'll.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a fantastic research facility. Our reference room here, Kelsey Haas, our archivist, fields plenty of questions a week. They come in through email or in person. People like to come and visit, and yeah, a lot of questions about genealogy, a lot of questions about houses for sure. Folks are looking to renovate. They always want to try and find a historic image of the home to kind of bring back some of the heritage aspects that may have been lost over the years, and we're always happy to help as much as we can in those situations.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. What would you say you're most proud of?
I think we touched on the renovation and expansion in 2013. I think getting open again after being closed for a year was something I'm very proud of. We worked really hard as a team, both our staff and our board of directors and many volunteers to get the doors back open. That's a hard thing when you're closed. We had another renovation of our galleries in 2018 in the summer, and once you close those doors, they are hard to reopen. The place changes, and we have to work hard to make sure that it looks good for folks to come back through the doors.
It always looks good, Kevin. It's always been impressive to me, but even more so now. It
Well,
really
thanks.
is. And like our Rotary Club does meet there every second Tuesday now, as you obviously know. And you've often gotten different paintings in the room that we meet in, which is the same building that you're in. How do you decide on new exhibitions, and who does the work for the paintings and also the
Yeah.
rest of the displays in the museum?
So we work closely as a staff, and with our volunteers. Also, some suggestions come in from the community, but we know the collection, we know the stories that it can help us tell. We have a sense for what what has been out recently, and we try and bring new items to folks' attention. The art exhibitions in the room that Rotary meets in our education center, those switch out every couple of months, and those are local artists from the community that come to us, make a pitch to our exhibitions coordinator, Austin Strutt. And I mean, we try and show as many folks as possible who have the work to show. So right now, we have a fantastic group who, I think this is actually their 7th exhibition in the space, is the Monday Painters Group. And this is
Oh,
a group of individuals that meet on Mondays, as it says, and they paint outside, which is the term they use is en plein air. So these are often, because of the conditions they're working in, often smaller works, but that by no means makes them simple. There's some absolutely phenomenal pieces in the show, which you'll see next time you're by, and we're grateful to work with groups like that in the
yeah.
space.
It's
Absolutely.
great to see the new work there so frequently. And
Mhm.
I must give a shout out to Austin. As you know, I was so impressed with the talk he did. He's probably done some since then, but he did one on the old taverns in Dundas, and he was
Yeah.
so enthusiastic and knowledgeable. He's just an excellent, what an asset he is. I'm sad.
Absolutely. We're very fortunate to have him on the team. Austin, like myself, we absorb trivia and love to share it. These little bits and pieces that you come across. Austin spends hours pouring through the old newspapers and pulling stuff all the time that comes in handy. Or he has just such a phenomenal recall
Mhm.
for different facts and items related to the collection and the story of this lovely town.
Yeah. And what's the lady who does the research downstairs? What is her name?
Well, we have a couple of staff. So we have our collections manager, which is Severine Craig, and she oversees all of our three-dimensional objects, so artifacts in a traditional sense. And then we have a fairly new member to our staff, Kelsey Haas, who is our archivist, and she oversees the two-dimensional items, so documents, photographs, diaries, journals, the records of the former town of Dundas, that sort of thing.
And do you get the public coming and sort of donating things regularly or just
Fairly
occasionally?
regularly, yes. We have a fantastic form that we've developed on our website to encourage people to give items that they're, should it go to Goodwill or should I just throw it out? We're always encourage folks to have a look or at least contact us and have a conversation about those things, because it surprises people what we find useful and interesting. Um, the items that would be helpful in the future to tell the story of this place. Uh, if if you think about, we've been collecting since the 1940s. Our collection is incredibly strong up into the Victorian period, during the wars, that sort of thing. But then after that, folks have just not felt that items from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s are worth preserving. And we're hoping that those items do come in bit by bit, especially film. I would imagine, we know that folks who are around today, their parents shot tons and tons of film in this community, and we look forward to some of that stuff coming to the museum in the future, because that will really help animate our spaces. We're able to share moving images.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Good to know. So what would you say, Kevin, is your greatest challenge?
Well, the pandemic has been a heck of a challenge.
Yeah.
We were getting ready to host our St. Patrick's Day Ceilidh for the third year in a row. We had the Mountain Road Band ready to go, but we had to cancel that in March of 2020, and had to cancel tons of events since then. We're only now coming out of it. We were excited to host our Made in Dundas Community Family Festival just this past Labor Day weekend, which felt really good to have people here. We did most of it outside. It was a great, safe environment. But that energy and excitement from the community, we miss it, and we're working to bring it back. And we've got more events like that, family focused events coming up, our Christmas or holiday events, family day. Those things are just around the corner, and we're excited to keep that momentum going, because we were a pretty busy place in 2019.
Yeah.
And so we're looking forward to getting back to that.
Yeah, awesome. So what is your next event? Is it a Christmas one?
Yeah, it's our Made in Dundas holiday special, which is a family-focused event. It'll be on the grounds of the museum, so we're hoping for some good weather. Some items will be inside, but Santa and Mrs. Claus are coming for a visit, so little people will be able to talk to the big guy and get their pictures taken. Our events are free as often as we can make them that. And this one, we're grateful for the support of the Duger Community Fund through the Hamilton Community Foundation, to offset our costs and to be able to have Santa and photos for free. It's an
Great.
exciting thing.
Will you bring your own kids to that one?
I usually do, yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Good stuff. What would you say is your most memorable experience, or do you have one that sort of stands out?
Most memorable experience, I think, was when we lifted the 17.5-ton steam hammer into the front of the building back in 2017. This is a project that took about a year to come to fruition, thanks to support of the Rotary Club as well. That working with the city of Hamilton and their collection, they had this giant Bertram steam hammer at the Museum of Steam and Technology. They actually had two of them. And so I saw it on a tour and I said, well, you couldn't possibly need both of these. And would they consider transferring one to the museum here in Dundas? And after some time, we were able to get that to happen. And it took, I think it was 150-ton crane parked on Park Street here, lifted it off a flatbed truck and flew it down into its new home just outside my window here. That was
Yes.
a pretty momentous time. And the connection to the museum is a private nonprofit museum. We're not part of the municipal system. And the reason we're able to stay private and independent that way is thanks to the support on an annual basis of the H.G. Bertram Foundation. The reason I mention that too is that the steam hammer was made at Bertram's here in Dundas, which many folks will remember was the largest employer in town for decades. They made giant machines for building other things in factories. and having visual examples of that that legacy is very important for us, and we're
Mhm.
grateful for it.
Yeah, I remember that giant thing going in. So the funding, you get some from the Duger Fund, and what about the rest of your funding?
So as I said, the majority would be about 65% comes from the Bertram Foundation on an annual basis. We also see support from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport through the Community Museum Operating Grant. That's a small fraction of our operating. And then there are some project-based grants that the City of Hamilton funds through the Community Enrichment Fund. But a very significant piece comes thanks to our friends in the museum and our donors and supporters. This is a free museum to enter, and we are always grateful to have folks come. We're also grateful when donations are made as well, but that's not a precursor for entry. We try to keep the barriers free, I guess, to a minimum around
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever possible, as was the original vision of this place.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. What about the future? Any plans for the future that you can share?
Any plans for the future is to continue, I think, to continue to grow and to respond to the changing community around us. We want to be a welcoming, accessible community space. We always aspire to that. And so, working with our community to make sure that we're meeting their needs is always important, and kind of getting folks back in here after a significant setback with the pandemic, uh, making sure that they're aware of what a great asset we have here in this community.
Mhm. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't live in Dundas, I don't think, do you?
No, no, I'm a Guelph guy. I come down every day. Born and raised in Guelph, but there's really, nothing quite like coming down the Sydenham Hill where I come, and to get to see the valley every morning as I come down to work is it's pretty special. Very few people get a commute like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a nice,
Yeah.
easy, relatively easy commute.
Relatively easy, yeah.
So,
Unfortunate.
well, let's talk about you for a minute.
Sure.
What's something that most people don't know about you that you could share with us?
Well, I guess that I'm not from here, although I've kind of fallen in love with this community. As everyone knows, it's a very distinct space. Surrounded by nature. I love to get out of the building when I can to just kind of walk around the neighborhoods here and kind of soak it all in. There's always something to look at, and that's something I guess I'm always looking around. I'm looking at the buildings. I'm looking at the changes that you can see here over time. Spend a lot of time with the archival photographs in our collection, and it's exciting to see when things are the same, but also when they're different, and that excites me. And I guess folks might not know I'm a proud father of two. Got a 6-year-old and a soon-to-be 3-year-old at home, Madeline and Andre. I'm thrilled that they're seeing some normal return to their lives with school and with daycare and things like that. So yeah, keeps me
But
humble though.
yeah, that's
Yep.
lovely ages, aren't they? Just
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you
Like,
so much for your time. I'm proud of what you've done. That museum is iconic. It's just a gorgeous place in a beautiful location, and we as residents in Dundas, I think, are proud of it. And thank you so much for everything you're doing.
oh, my absolute pleasure, Judy. Thanks again for inviting me to this.
Okay. Nice to talk to you. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye for now.
Bye. I'll see you soon.